Hey, everybody who's watching this. I'm hoping you're having a lovely day. Kind of hard to know considering you're out in the great void of the internet. But hi, my name is Jacqueline Fry. I am a psychotherapist and also a life coach. I have a practice in Florida, but I see clients all over the map for life coaching. So today I kind of wanted to get on here and talk about confidence. I know it seems like a very broad topic, but a lot of my clients come to me to talk about a lot of things, but mostly it comes back to confidence, self-esteem, having a voice, your own identity, and all the things that are intermingled in that kind of get us off that path, whether it be like mental health issues or past hurts and wounds, anxiety, depression, the list goes on and on. But I kind of wanted to discuss what confidence was because it seems silly, but everybody has a different understanding or definition of what it is. And also, by the way, I will be looking at my notes periodically. So just to kind of keep it a little bit more authentic, there will be some ums and there will be some kind of maybe faux pas of how I talk, but it's all because I'm trying to like go off my notes a little bit as best I can so I don't ramble on you. So for starters, confidence, when I looked it up, there was like so many different definitions. And also when I've had clients on my couch or in my office, they have had so many different understandings of what it means to them. To give you a brief kind of overture of like what I think it is, it's just feeling secure in your capabilities and who you are as a person. Does it mean that it's going to happen all the time? No, you're not going to be confident all the time unless there's like, I mean, I haven't met them. I don't want to put like a big blanket statement, but I have not met someone who's confident 100% of the time. Usually confidence is feeling strong in what you're saying. It also means that you are trusting yourself that you will handle mostly whatever comes your way. You may not feel confident about one particular situation, but you trust that somehow that you will handle it. That's the idea. That's the goal that we want to get at. Also, to be confident, a big building block is knowing yourself. You can't really trust yourself and that you're going to show up how you want in every situation if you don't inherently know who you are and what you have to say. This is like a big building block that a lot of people trip over because you can't know everything about who you are. You kind of understand yourself as you're presented with experiences along the road. A small example would be like to know oneself. Would I really like to be a therapist one day? I can't know that. So do I know that whole part of myself? Do I know how I'm going to show up as a parent? I can't know that until that happens. So you're never truly going to know every aspect of yourself. But for someone to have a good handle on their identity, they generally have a good idea of how they would react in the situation, how they would hope that they would react. In terms of identity or to know oneself, that means you have to have more experiences. So what that means, and I know this is scary for everybody, but like go out, make mistakes, be curious, do and say something that you would not expect that would come out of your mouth and see what comes of it. Curiosity is a big way of looking at it because it takes the pressure off. So you don't have to go into something like, oh my gosh, must make the right decision, must do the right thing. If you're curious and you're playing around with it, that gives you more space to have fun and then really know the authentic you when you're presented with any given situation, whether it be a heavy one, like a huge incident at work, or how you handle an obstacle with your significant other, to something light like, will I like this concert? Will I like this country to visit? Like, hell, will I even like this restaurant? It's just a varying degree of how you show up in the situation. And you can add those experiences to the bucket that makes you a person. Because after all, we are just a mashup of the people that come into our lives and experiences. And I'm also just realizing that I'm talking very fast. So I will try to like kind of inherently go over some of that a little bit more and sprinkle it out as we go forward and try to slow down, but I am a fast talker. So, plus there's like a lot to get to. So trusting self, knowing self, strong in what you're saying, and you feel like you can back the majority of it, even though you might say like a boneheaded thing or the wrong word, because we all do that. But overall, there's a general feeling of secure in those things. And again, this does not mean you have to know all the variables. It does not mean you have to be confident every time you come into an unknown situation. I am by no means feel secure every time I'm in front of a new client or a new and unknown situation. but somehow I trust the process and I know like, I'm going to get through this. I generally will get through this. I may say some stupid things along the way or whatnot, but I trust the process. I trust myself and it will get to the end, even though I don't know what the end will look like. So now that we've kind of identified what is needed to have good confidence and what that looks like, and maybe good confidence is the right word, maybe like a healthy amount of confidence, or I keep going back to feeling comfortable with yourself, just like you are your old friend. You like her, you know her or him, and you trust her. Like that is kind of where I look at someone who's truly confident. Now, let's kind of look at the other end of the spectrum in terms of what can impact you from having a great level of confidence or like where you'd want to be, hopefully. Again, as I mentioned a little bit before, sorry, this thing's wobbly, but for those of you who can't see the camera and just hear me audio, there's nothing wrong going on. But okay, so backtrack. What can impact confidence? It's not knowing your identity. That means limited experiences out in the wild, in life. You kind of limited yourself to maybe just the status quo or what someone else wants of you. You don't go out of your box. Maybe you just go to work, go home, hang out with the same friends, go to the same places. It's not really expanding you. So if you don't know your identity and how you might like something or how you might react in a situation, or even just cultivate that love for yourself, then it's going to be more challenging to trust yourself and then also show up appropriately and feel comfortable in that. So think of it like this. I'm going to use a metaphor. Maybe it'll resonate, maybe it won't. But like, think of it like when you're dating someone or when you're trying to build a relationship. I'm assuming most of you hopefully have had that experience before. And you want to know that person before you trust them. You want to love that person, hopefully, or some degree thereof, before you really trust and feel confident in the relationship. So you got to know yourself. You've got to get acquainted with who you are and really be in touch with that person on a level underneath the superficial. So if you're just diving into TV or the news cycle or the tasks of the day or social media, you're not getting to know yourself. You're just looking at what's on a screen. And I might be shooting myself in the foot here because you're looking at a screen right now, but hopefully this is a growth point. But you're looking at a screen, maybe you have some emotional reactions or something comes up for you and you kind of get to know yourself that way, but you're not doing the other half where, and I say you as a general sense, maybe not you to the one person who's watching me, but like you're not getting to know how you might interact in the world or interact when you go outside your box. So really knowing yourself, having an identity, that's building block numero uno. Okay, I will try not to repeat myself that much anymore on that one. The other thing that kind of impacts confidence is wanting to be liked. That is kind of the funny thing because confidence, you would think someone going in the room, they're liked, they're enigmatic, they're sociable, they're the center of attention, they're just like generally hot shit. Excuse my French, I curse. Hopefully you'll be okay with that. But when I think of a confident person right off the bat without going too like highbrow in it, I think that's a hot shit person that just feels empowered and awesome. But the thing is, you don't come that way by wanting to be liked, by overly focusing on someone else and how they perceive you, because then you're catering to their viewpoint. You're catering to what you perceive to be what they want. And nobody is confident in trying to be someone that they are not. I myself have fallen into this trap, especially in my younger years, wanting to be liked, wanting that approval. But that's not going to get you anywhere. So as best you can, when you think, okay, where is this coming from? Like slow yourself down in the moment. I'm wanting to be liked. Whoa, what's going on here? I need to stop this. Because that is the opposite of confidence right there, wanting to be liked. And that's never going to get you to a point of feeling good with yourself, good with your self-esteem. The people that will like you will come with time. And maybe you don't want everyone to like you. Honestly, I can think of a number of people. I'm not getting into the details, but like I actually think of it as a thumbs up that they don't like me because their character is not what I align with. So wanting to be liked, we kick that out the door. That's just like a cause and effect situation. If you are yourself, the people that are like vibe with you, they're going to like you as just a consequence of you getting to know and being an authentic version of you. So that is the second one. Third one that impacts confidence. I've seen this time and time again. It's usually when, I know some people are going to roll their eyes at this one, but when you grow up in a household, sometimes there are caregivers or parents, we'll say parents because that's usually what's top of mind, but not everybody's raised by their parent. And they kind of withhold approval. Or sometimes if there's a personality disorder that is apparent. So I will try to slow this down for the non-therapy kind of wise folks that kind of have that lingo. But a personality disorder is separate from a mental health illness in that it is usually how they show up as a person. It's ingrained. It's not a thing like they're afflicted with. It is who they are as a person. It's a personality. So one that everybody might be familiar with is narcissistic personality disorder, or someone who has borderline personality disorder, or histrionic. That's somewhat people are aware of. And I could go on and on and on. But particularly those can be tricky and lead to someone who's not confident because they've had to adapt who they are based on their caregiver, or even could be sibling, but who's in front of them, to try to create a homeostasis, or I want to say safe, but it's never really safe, a stable-esque as much as they can environment. So an example would be, we'll go with narcissistic because everybody loves that word, and kind of have more familiarity of what that person may look like, even if it's not the same with everyone. But if someone is narcissistic or has a narcissistic personality disorder, they will show up as it's never their fault. There's, I don't hate using never, but overall it's presented as it's not their fault. They're not going to be the ones that are going to adapt. You're going to be the ones that are apologizing. You're going to be the ones that are craving approval and never get it. It's always very one-sided. So that leaves the other person left to always adapting to the person that has the personality disorder. Or sometimes it happens with mental health illnesses, like maybe if a parent were bipolar, you're adapting to them. So a lot of times, to avoid any kind of further fights, arguments, strife, you are modifying how you would behave just to avoid it. So I see this all the time, and especially with people with narcissistic parents or have grown up in such a household where there is one or both who have some kind of personality disorder or mental health disorder. And they don't have confidence because they haven't had an opportunity to be who they are. And they've always been in a habitual pattern of trying to analyze every given situation would probably be the best way. And if you're brought up in a situation where you're always trying to have to analyze and you have anxiety about that, you're never going to feel really sure. Even if you're like sure of yourself a little bit, the situation doesn't make for a good fostering of comfort in who you are as a person. So I hope that all kind of made sense. I'll try to like explain it a little different way, because sometimes people learn with one analogy or explanation, and then sometimes it needs to be like backtracked and reworded, and then it makes sense. So I will try my best to kind of navigate that. A lot of times confidence is hard to have in a hostile environment. And since you're always questioning every angle, you're inherently questioning yourself. So you're trained, I hate to use that word, but trained or raised to question your own behavior constantly. And that is going to put such a huge feeling of doubt in you. In order to try to feel comfortable with yourself, first we have to break that. And that is so challenging. I'll probably go into another separate video to kind of explain that. And maybe, I don't know if you have your own therapist or you can do your own research, but if it can be done, it's just more challenging to do when you've had a good amount of time in that behavior where you're trying to analyze for every given situation and you're not just being okay with making a mistake, saying something that might be wrong, or just comfortable with your own viewpoint and you keep having to analyze it from everyone else's. So that is another thing that will impact someone's confidence that I've seen lately. One more that I kind of want to mention, and I'm sure there's many other ones. I just try to pick the big ones that I've been noticing lately that really resonated. And I've seen these patterns over and over again, but I'll probably extend on this. So excuse me if I'm missing something, but another one that can break your confidence is a trust fracture. And what I mean by that is a trust fracture within yourself. Maybe you were raised in a great and loving home, and you trusted that things would be okay. You trusted yourself, but something big happened. Maybe you picked the wrong individual to have as your partner and they had this huge betrayal, and that led you to mistrust yourself. Or maybe you made a decision that really rocked your world. Maybe it affected others and had like drastic consequences. Then you lost trust for yourself. It may have very well just been a mistake you couldn't avoid, but it still makes us question everything. So after something like a trust fracture, it's hard to build back up confidence. I would say that way is a little bit, I want to say easier, but that is a terrible word. It's a little less of a lift. That's a better way of putting it. It's a little less of a lift when it's a trust fracture, whereas when you're dealing with developmental trauma or trauma as you're growing up from a caregiver or a parent, then that's just years and years and years of being ingrained from someone that you care about, someone that you look to. That's just a little bit more of a heavier lift to kind of build confidence from that end. But it is possible. I've seen it over and over again. That's why I love what I do, because I see these individuals that just blossom and they're amazing and they're badass and they're empowered, and they walked in and that they were a different person because that person, they weren't fully awake. They didn't trust themselves. They didn't speak their voice. A big thing to kind of go to next is, what do you do? What are the little pieces where you could kind of start and build confidence? I would say to kind of go back to the identity piece, get to know yourself more. I think everybody thinks they have a good idea. No, you try new things, get curious, go outside your box, go to a new country, try something insanely new, and just see how you feel about it. First step, uno. Second step is we really need to like stop the overthinking. And that's going to be more of a flex, a nuanced flex as a person of one catching those automatic thoughts when they come up, where you just start analyzing and you can't help it. And you're like 2 hours in and you're like, why do I feel so yicky? Oh, I've been analyzing the crap out of every choice I've ever made. So you're going to have to see it, look at it, just kind of observe, apparently I can't talk today, observe what's going on and be mindful. And then the next step is like trying to stop yourself a little bit or redirect in terms of, I don't need to analyze that anymore. I have no more information. I think I've made the best decision I have. I'm just going to stick with it. I'm not going to think about this one anymore. I know it's really easier said than done. When you're actually in an office with me, it would be how much of the process would be different. It would be a little bit less educational, instructional, and be more like I would kind of help you go along with it. But it can be done in terms of, you can do it on your own as well. Practicing mindfulness is one of those steps that like helps you kind of be the own architect of your thinking. It's just a very gradual process. It's a little bit more challenging to do by yourself. If you can't afford a therapist or a coach, I suggest having a friend that you really look up to, maybe a mentor of some type, or even like joining some of those like webinars or groups. Sometimes women's groups really help, or men's groups, you just might sometimes need someone outside of your head to help you along the way and give you kind of a new way of thinking about something or call you out when need be, a little accountability there. So boil that back down, mindfulness, catch the automatic thoughts and try to kind of talk back at them and speak to yourself with a little bit more love instead of analyzing everything, and just say, I'm doing the best I can. Again, that's very simplistic, very boilerplate, but there's so much more to that, but that's the start. And then as you go forward, the next thing that I think would really help with confidence is trying to speak up for yourself. This helps the person that you're speaking to, because sometimes they will change their behavior or you will get more of what you want. That doesn't always occur. Sometimes you're just talking to a brick wall and you're not going to win any kind of battle. You're not going to be heard, and that person may not apologize. But depending on the situation, again, everybody's different and every situation is different. But overall, you might need to hear yourself speak up. It's more about you than what the other person hears. Yes, it would be ideal if you're setting boundaries and that person goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that was upsetting you. I will correct my behavior." But for confidence, it's more about being clear in what you're saying, practicing that, and also being like, shit, I did it. I spoke up for myself. I pushed back. And maybe I didn't feel confident in the moment, but I freaking did it. Like, that is the first step. And then we just go from there. It's just those little bitty baby steps that, have such a huge impact, because come on, think about it. Like, if you just did this much of a step over time, it'd be such a different direction. And it's not always going to be consistent, but that's the goal. Like, we want to have consistency in how we show up for ourselves. So that is just a rough, I can't be more explicit with this, a rough little snapshot of confidence, where some of the reasons it could be impacted, maybe when you grew up or, currently, and then also some areas where you might want to work on it, and areas that would just be like a starting point in your journey. There's so much more to add to this topic, and I hope that you guys watch these videos and get thirsty for knowledge, thirsty for more. I would love more comments too, in case there's more that you want to talk about or hear about, an angle that you have questions on. Try to be nice in the compliments. I'm still a human. I have feelings. And then also, I don't want other people to kind of go do the back and forth there below. So if you can try, that would be much appreciated. But I am open to careful critiques or someone who has ever so slightly different opinion, because I love that good dialogue. I think that's great growth for myself and for everybody out there. So I hope that helped. Take what you can of this and leave the rest at the door. Not everything I say is going to be everyone's cup of tea, and I hope the cursing didn't put you off, but that's just somehow how I talk. But I hope this was informative. I would love to do more of these on the topic of confidence and so much more. So keep a lookout. I'm going to have more podcasts, more Instagram reels, kind of just to give you a taste. And then, of course, if you're watching me on YouTube, this is going to be a regular thing. And feel free to look out for some more blunders of my mouth. But this is just, I want it to be a more comfortable environment and less teleprompter and less polished, because then it misses the good stuff when it's so polished. It's so polished, it misses the flavor and the personality of being human. So I will leave it there. Again, for those of you who are watching this for the first time, my name is Jacqueline Fry. I'm just a regular old therapist in Florida, but I also do life coaching all over the States and beyond. So I look forward to showing up in your screen more often, and I will talk at you later.